Okay, this also looks pretty much impassable, but basically the bluebell bank is up here, and this whole area is bluebells in the summer, and it's where all my guinea pigs are laid to rest. So that's sort of why I call this district the District of Death. Now there's a man down there, which is why I'm keeping my voice down. Anyway, that goes up back to the upper field, and then of course you get the main entrance from down. That is one of the biggest reasons that I'm not continuing and doing the full circle like I wanted. You can actually avoid the stump here by going round. You can see the route sort of around there, but we went up to the stump because we were going to go further up still, and yet Bluebell Bank is as bad as that, which I had to come down. So this here is one of the tributaries that runs into the Nidd, and yet there doesn't seem to be any walkways along that at all on either side that I've ever found. So onward we go across this bridge, and this I call the Pine Walk because it's along the water, pine trees either side, and it's beautifully dry in the summer. It's not too bad now because of course all the pine leaves soak up all the mud and water. And another bench here. Now, this is where I came on Easter Saturday. That was my last visit here. And I came with the body of Pettis because this is also the district in which I bury my birds. But I don't bury my birds like I buried my pigs in the ground. I give them a water burial. Not here, I'll show you where, but you can't tell because you seem to be a tad whitewashed. I don't quite know why, but the colour is sort of more like that. It's sort of an orangey colour because the sun is setting over there, and so the tops of the trees all around here are orange, and pine trees especially good at reflecting the dying sun. We had a pine tree at what was the bottom of our garden at Swallowbuck Avenue. In fact, they took it away. It's council-owned property which we rented as a garden, and they took it away to build on. But they left the big pine tree, and that pine tree was actually south-facing, but we were further north, so when we looked at it, we could see the western side of it when the sun set, and the tree would glow, first orange and then a deep red, as if it were on fire. It was most extraordinary. Most extraordinary. Because of course it was a lone pine tree, so it wasn't like these where you can only see the tops. There's a sort of reddy orange. This was the full length of it. And it didn't just sort of catch the sun, it blazed. One of the little beauties that was something I used to watch sort of all the way through the 90s, I suppose, and not something that was ever caught on camera. Back then you didn't really have proper video cameras, not this size. You had big cameras that were like boxes. Or you had tiny little sort of click and whiz cameras where you had to click and then wind on the film. None of those can capture the glory of this. I'm not even convinced that our technology now can really do it. It's most impossible, I think, to catch the radiance of something quite so almost intimate, and yet on show for everybody, and something that bears no purpose beyond itself. There is no reason at all why there's ducks over there. No reason at all why any of this should be beautiful. Aesthetics don't come into this. You know, there's no reason why the dying embers of a sun, a nuclear reactor billions of miles away, should sort of make the tops of the trees glow. It's this sort of thing, I believe, that St. Paul is hinting at in Scripture when he says that you know, in theory, anybody should know that there is something in this world beyond themselves, just because of the sheer scale and beauty of it. And sometimes you can talk it away. You can say, well, you know, nectar has to be sweet for the insects, flowers have to be brightly coloured for the insects, and that works, and I'm sure that's true. But if anybody can tell me why the top of a pine tree in a forest should glow a beautiful sort of orangey red when the sun is setting, if anybody can give me a practical reason, not how it happens, not light rays hitting the tree, lighting it up, but why it should be quite so lovely, please let me know and I'll recant. But I very much doubt anybody has given much thought to it, to be honest. But if they have, then I very much doubt they have a reason for its for its existence. The one place in this forest which it's good to visit at this time is this. I am very sick of walking through this and saying, this is the quagmire of despair, and finding it as dry as a dust ball. Now you can actually see that during this point of the year, whenever it rains, this turns into a quagmire, so much so that they have had to build ramps for people to walk across. And if you can see below, there are older ramps underneath, yet still this place has turned further and further into a quagmire. And the reason for that is the ravine, the stone in the ravine is quite far back, whereas it's quite close further up, and so there was a lot of stuff covering it that is basically water soluble, and as the rains come, it's sort of all fallen down, hasn't it? Anyway, you may be able to hear over the top of me a sort of noise like the sound of rushing waters. We're approaching Scotton Mill, a water mill actually based on the other side of the river, but on this side of the river there was a beautiful little viewing platform right by the dam itself. That's the location of the water burial for all my birds.